Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So welcome back to the session on the chapter, continuation of chapter 7. So before we proceed with verses from verse number 12, we will just try to recollect what happened in the first 11 verses. So some quick response. So what was the main points that we saw, that Vyasadeva, what is the realization he got and what did he do? Some feedbacks. Vyasadeva was inspired, and what happened? So quick answers. Let's not
He
drag
started
it.
meditating on the Lord. He saw Lord with his energies, external energy.
Yeah. So yes, he as per the instruction that he got from Narada Muni. If you remember in the 5th chapter, so Narada Muni asked him to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord. He asked him to meditate on the Lord. It was in itself, it's a devotional service. So he was engaged in meditation, and as a result of that, he was able to see the Lord with his energies, and how Maya is standing far away from him. And then what else? What else happened after seeing that? Then what else happened? Oh, you should be able to tell. What's the next sequence of events that happened? What?
He saw that being and itself suffering, so he wrote, he's going to write this.
Yeah, what are the series of verses? Just tell those verses. That's what we are looking for. Yeah.
Then he wrote
So he saw that there are how to get rid of these anarthas. So you have to get rid of these anarthas. So for that, getting rid of these anarthas, what did he do? He compiled the Sattvata Samhita. So because he knew that engagement in Krishna's service is what, and hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and engagement in the Lord's service is what is going to purify and help the conditioned souls to be reinstated in their constitutional position. So then he also stressed on the important aspect of the devotional service, of engagement in devotional service, Yasyam Vaishroyamana Krishna Parama Purushe. So again, whatever that we saw in the 2nd chapter, starting with Shushrusho Shraddha Dhanasya, those verses which stresses on the power of hearing from the saintly personalities, engaging in service. So all those things he stressed. So finally the Sattvata Samhita is compiled. Srimad Bhagavatam is compiled. And what is the another unique aspect of this Bhagavatam? Another unique aspect of this Bhagavatam, what impact it has created? Any observation in the verses, upcoming verses?
even Shukudeva Goswami.
That is the point. Even the great personality like Shukudeva Goswami, who is already self-realized. We saw this verse of Atma Ramascha Muneo. So what was the most important aspect in that verse? The verse says that even one who is self-satisfied, he is attracted by the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukudeva Goswami was least interested in anything material. He was already completely self-satisfied. But he was attracted by the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the whole point of that verse. So that is the answer also when the question why Shukadeva Goswami, although he knew everything, why was he attracted? Because that is the attractive feature of the personality of Godhead and his interactions with his devotees, which is all captivating. Okay, so that was the main discussion we had, and also we realized that how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was completely inspired when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was giving the explanations for the Vedanta Sutra, he was one after the other explaining so seriously, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting silent. He was not responding. So he was little, what is going on? So much explanation is given, nothing is happening. When you are not responding anything. He says, no, Vedanta Sutra is very clear. No problem with the Vedanta Sutra. But only your explanation, there is some problem. So then he went on to explain this Atma Ramascha Muneo verse, and then when he gave so many different meanings, he derived several meanings out of it. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was completely impressed. He said, it is not possible for any ordinary person to do it. This should be Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was fully convinced, and then he became a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So these are all some of the amazing aspects of this Atma Ramasya Muniya verse. And we did not touch the verse number 12, if I believe. We will just move to that, and then we will complete with that, and then we will start the new section. Okay. Okay. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So one humble request I have, you have to constantly keep reminding yourself about the flow, how the Bhagavatam is flowing, who is talking, what was discussed. You should know the summary time to time. You must be aware of it. Then you will be at any point of time you will know the flow, where we are, what is being discussed. So these verses, again reminding all of you, these verses are very key verses. I explained last week also how this Chatushloki Bhagavatam, you remember we discussed that, how the Chatushloki Bhagavatam was revealed to Brahma. Similarly, these 4 verses are like keys to those Chatushloki Bhagavatam, because these are very fundamental principles which is being explained, so we should be aware of it. That's something for us to remember. Okay. Srila Shukudeva Goswami, the son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus he underwent the study of this great narration. This actually comes under the theme of the previous set of verses. We did not have time to cover this. Okay. See the words that is being used here. Harer Gunakshipta Matir Bhagavan Bhadarayanihi Adhyagan Mahad Akhyanam Nityam Vishnu Janapriyaha. Nityam Vishnu Janapriyaha. So Vishnu Janas, the devotees of the Supreme Lord, he was very dear. So which means initially it was not so, because he was into Brahman realization. So but later, when he just heard this message of this Bhagavatam, immediately he was completely captivated by the Lord and his devotees. So that's the message. By the association of the pure devotees like Vyasadeva, even the liberated soul becomes attracted by the transcendental qualities of the Lord. By the mercy of Sri Narada, Srila Vyasadeva was able to narrate the great epic of Srimad Bhagavatam. And by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Srila Shukudeva Goswami was able to grasp the import. The transcendental qualities of the Lord are so attractive that Srila Shukudeva Goswami became detached from being completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman and positively took up the personal activity of the Lord. So this is the point Prabhupada is emphasizing. So from that time, you see it is mentioned here in the purport, you will please look at the purport. Prabhupada writes, and from that time, not only did he himself become very dear to the Vishnu Janas or the devotees of the Lord, but also the Vishnu Janas became very dear to him. Both of them. It was a vice versa. Both of them. Before it was not so. Later, after hearing the Bhagavatam. Therefore, it appears that Srila Shukadeva Goswami also had no liking for the devotees. So there was, as Prabhupada points out, there was some disconnect between Shukadeva Goswami and other devotees before, because he was into impersonalism. But later, Prabhupada writes, after he himself became a saturated devotee, he desired always the transcendental association of the Vishnu Janas. And the Vishnu Janas also liked his association once he became a personal Bhagavata. Okay. So there was a question, as we remember, in the previous chapters, probably in the 4th chapter. Yes. The question as to how Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the narration of the Bhagavatam is thus completely answered by this verse. So with that, the particular theme of those verses are over, how Bhagavatam was, how Shukadeva Goswami heard the Bhagavatam, although it was Atma Rama. So with that we conclude that. section. Okay. There is also a little history of Shukadeva's birth. Probably we can just a little bit touch with about that. It'll be interesting. Shuka, the speaker of Bhagavatam, was the first son of Vyasa, different from the Shuka born from the womb of Arani. Brahma-vaibhava Purana describes how Vyasa wrote Mahabharata at the beginning of Kali Yuga. Then it describes Shukadeva as follows. On the order of his mother, unable to tolerate the obligation to his ancestors, just an elephant cannot tolerate a post to which he is tied, Vyasa gave up his celibacy and took the daughter of Javali named Vitika as his wife. He performed austerities with her in a hermitage, and after a long time he impregnated her. She was pregnant for 11 years and still did not give birth. In the 12th year, Vyasa said to the child in the womb, "O child, why are you causing such pain to your mother? Please come out of the womb." The child in the womb said, "If I come out of the womb, Maya will attack me. Therefore I will remain here meditating on the Lord." Vyasa said, "You will not be overcome by Maya. I will guarantee that. Come out of the womb. Show your face to me. Do not give pain to my wife." The child said, "But I know that Maya has overcome you, since you are attached to your wife and child. I do not believe your words." Vyasa said, "Then whose words will you trust?" The child said, "I will trust the person who controls Maya." Vyasa said, "Then I will bring him here." Vyasa then went to Dwaraka and explained everything to Krishna. He brought Krishna to his hermitage and said, "O son, the Lord has come." The child said to the Lord, "Please speak, O Madhava. Maya is like chains on the universe. If your Maya, which cannot be surpassed by anyone, will not bind me, I will leave the womb and come out. You are the guarantee, now standing outside the womb." The Lord said, "You will not be affected by my Maya. By my mercy you will be liberated." Shuka came out of the womb, offered respects to the Lord and praised him. Seeing him, the Lord said, "O Vyasa, your son speaks attractively like a parrot. Let his name be Shuka." Taking permission from Vyasa, Krishna mounted his chariot and returned to Dwaraka. Then Shuka left the house and Vyasa pursued him. Okay, here is another piece of information from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 21, verse 25. Sridhar Swami, however, explains that Shuka, born of Arani, seeing his father pursue him in pain of separation, produced a duplicate Shuka and then left. The duplicate Shuka then got married and had children. The Shuka mentioned here is different from the Shukadeva Goswami who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is described in great detail in the Brahma-vaibhava Purana. Okay, so that story just we heard now. Okay. That's what. That's just I wanted to share this information. So if you see in the 9th canto, 21st verse, this information will be. Therefore, the Shuka Kanya, the daughter of Shukadeva, mentioned in this verse is the daughter of the duplicate or imitation Shukadeva. When you read the 9th canto, you will see there will be one, and the lineage in the section, you may be suddenly daughter of Shuka. Who is that? So just to clarify this section, I am just reading. So the original Shukadeva was a lifelong brahmachari. Prabhupada points out this in the purport. Okay. Okay, now let's move to verse number 12. Okay. So now, just to give you a little background, what is happening? Now, can anybody think of it, why all of a sudden this narration of Sutta Goswami is narrating to Shukadeva Goswami, to Shaunakadi Rishis about the incident of this after the battle of Mahabharata, what had happened, why this incident and all those things was discussed. That's the whole key, that's the whole point. So Parikshit has to come to the scene. So Shukadeva Goswami, already an introduction is given about him. Now furthermore about Shukadeva Goswami will be explained in the upcoming chapters. But now Parikshit is going to be introduced. So what is the background of Parikshit's birth? That we will see now. And also this particular chapter unfolds the hero of this Bhagavatam. Who is that hero of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Why are you thinking so much? Should not hesitate, immediately you should respond. Yes, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is the main personality. The Bhagavatam is all about him and his loving exchange with his devotees. Oh, maybe you are thinking about telling about his devotees. Yeah, that's also, it's a transcendental competition. But nevertheless, Krishna's supremacy and his great loving exchanges that he has with his devotees is certainly narrated. So the first scene actually in the Bhagavatam, now we are going to see Krishna directly appearing in this chapter. And how the Lord appears in the very first scene here. How does he appear? Driving chariot. He's just driving chariot for his devotee. This is again showing his Bhakta Vatsalya. This is amazing. So far we heard that Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Janma Dyasya Ataha. Isn't it? From him everything is emanating. He's the cause of all the causes. Then we heard that one to approach him, and we also heard that he is that Supreme Personality of Godhead, or he is the Avatari from whom all the avatars are unfolding. All the avatars are coming to this world. And we also heard how to approach him. We have to approach him through his devotees by giving oral reception. We can approach him and by rendering service. That is a perfection that also we heard. And that Supreme Lord, now he is introduced here. He is going to just drive the chariot for Arjuna. So that's how this chapter unfolds. Okay, then what else, when you read this chapter, anything that some lesson, that something that is striking thing that you learned on this chapter when you read this chapter? There are a couple of things which really struck me. Anything that really that you brought your attention when you read this chapter, this 7th chapter? I'm speaking from the verses number 12 to the rest of the verses.
Even
yes.
When the devotee, even if he is in danger, so he prays to the Lord.
This is a good point. When the devotee is in danger, when the devotee is in a very difficult situation, he takes shelter of Krishna. That's a good point. Yes. Anything else?
Brahmana is considered not by birth but by qualification.
Brahmana, yes. Brahmana is by qualification and not by birth. Yeah, that's a good point that we could see in the rest of the chapters.
Example of high court.
Yes. Anything else? Devotee's qualification. Quality. Example?
How Draupadi was merciful.
Oh, that's a nice point. Yes. We can see how Draupadi responded. Who can imagine all their own 5 sons died, and it's such a tragedy. Nobody can imagine, and she's thinking not to kill Ashwatthama. It's a great quality. It's a great quality, that's for sure.
Lord testing his devotees.
Yes, Lord tests his devotees. That's another amazing thing that we learn. Anything else? Anything on the negative side?
Krishna be Brahma Bandhu.
Yeah, almost he said Brahman. On Brahmana is not by birth. Yes. Okay, I have one point which we can think of. How a person can go so crazy when someone becomes envious. The envy, there is no end to this envy actually. One can go really mad, really crazy, and he will be completely blinded. Yeah, that's a real tragedy actually. There was one simple Bengali story I just remember. I want to share with you about that. Just give me a second. Okay. Yeah, there was 2 personalities. Just to remind this, I just found this very interesting incident. There was 2 persons by name Sutanta and Kritanta in Bengal. There were 2 villages. All the time they were fighting. I mean, always they will have fight. They will have some mockery. They will have always one fellow will pull the leg of another fellow. So it just went on like this for a long time. And at one point of time, this brother Kritanta, he was very disappointed, and he thought that, okay, enough of it. Let me just give a break for all these things. Let me just settle myself in Vrindavan. Let him be away from him, and then let me peacefully lead my life. Then this Sutanta, his mind became completely disturbed. He thought that how can I sleep first of all without Kritanta, without fighting with him? How can I lead my life? How can I ever do something without this fellow? So I have to do something about it. I cannot. How can he be happy and I have to be really, in distress? So what he did, so he thought, what is the way by which I can stop this fellow going to Vrindavan? And he knew, because his brother, he knew that he had some deficiency. So he thought that if I can create some inauspicious woman in front of him, definitely he will change his plan. He will not go to Vrindavan. So what he did, listen now, this is the craziness of envy. What he did, he came in front of his house and he sat in front of his house. He cut his nose. Blood was oozing out. So this brother was planning to go to Vrindavan. He just saw him on the site. And then, oh my God, so he changed his entire plan. So I was just thinking about Ashwatthama. See, he was born for whom? He was born for a Brahmana. He had a good culture, he was trained, everything. But right from the beginning days, he developed such an envy, great enviousness he had for the Pandavas. So even after killing, after all that, the war is over, still this great envy that he had. So he went on to perform such a heinous act of killing many soldiers when they were sleeping, which is completely adharmic, and killing the sons of the Pandavas. That was really worse. And to what extent it became worse is that even Duryodhana was so disgusted with that incident. He was so much upset the way Ashwatthama, he was not at all pleased. And did his envy subside after all the mess that happened?
Sure.
He could not. He could have been, cooled down. He could have cooled down still. He could have changed. Life could have been. After all the mercy that he got, finally what he wanted to do? He wanted to kill the last progeny. Parikshit, he wanted to kill Parikshit by sending he did. He sent the Brahmastra. So the point. So that this is also one lesson that we learned from this particular chapter, that so if we become demoniac by the wrong association, we are lost. So some few thoughts on these things. Okay, so let's proceed with the rest of the chapter, and we will see some of the important purports. And okay, now let's see the divisions. So this is what I did. Suta Goswami to narrate about the topics of Lord Krishna, birth of Parikshit, turns to the incident of Ashwatthama's killing the sons of Pandavas. Okay. Suta Goswami thus addressed the rishis headed by Shaunaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of the birth, activities and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu. Now if you remember, Krishna, the talks about Krishna starts in this chapter. Again when Krishna actually comes to the scene? Wait for the 10th canto. Yeah, it's not much. Krishna doesn't appear before. Okay, just information. Okay. So Prabhupada speaks about how the activities of Lord Krishna is central in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Without Krishna, all the supplementary literatures like the Puranas and Mahabharata are simply stories or historical facts. But with Krishna, they become transcendental. And when we hear of them, we at once become transcendentally related with the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is also a Purana. But the special significance of this Purana is that the activities of the Lord are central and not just supplementary historical facts. Srimad Bhagavatam is thus recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the spotless Purana. Understand the purport first 9 cantos thoroughly before entering into 10th. So Prabhupada is giving a warning right here. There is a class of less intelligent devotees of the Bhagavata Purana who desire to relish at once the activities of the Lord, narrated in the 10th canto, without first understanding the primary cantos. They are under the false impression that the other cantos are not concerned with Krishna, and thus more foolishly than intelligently they take to the reading of the 10th canto. These readers are specifically told herein that the other cantos of the Bhagavatam are as important as the 10th canto. No one should try to go into the matters of the 10th canto without having thoroughly understood the purport of the other 9 cantos. When the respective warriors of both the camps, namely the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destinations, and when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimasen, the son of Dronacharya beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi and delivered their heads as a prize to his master, foolishly thinking that he would be pleased. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of the heinous act, and he was not pleased in the least. So we heard this. So Prabhupada points out that Krishna Katha refers to both the glory of the Lord and also of his devotees. Prabhupada points out that Lord Chaitanya desired that all who are born in India seriously understand such Krishna Kathas, and then after full realization preach the transcendental message to everyone in all parts of the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity of the stricken world. So this is again a strong advice from Prabhupada. See, so far in so many purposes we have seen this. Again and again Prabhupada is repeating it. We have the responsibility. We have to give this message to others. We have to save the lives of the people. Okay. One thing also that we can learn a lesson is that we can see here, we will see in this particular chapter that when previously in those days there was what is now currently we have this strange system of, or the most they say that this is the ideal system of democracy being followed, but during those days it was monarchy. A king will rule, a king will keep control of the entire situation, and everything was under his control, and people were much peaceful, they were happy, and they were taken care nicely. And we saw all the kings were Raja Rishis who were very noble, and even for that matter we see in the Mahabharata Duryodhana, although he was a very vicious person, but when he dealt whatever he dealt with the prajas, that was his dealing was good. He was following the codes of dharma. Okay, now we will see we will discuss about some things on this issue. So Draupadi was very much upset and she was in great distress, obviously, any mother. And now Arjuna is going to pacify Draupadi, and he says that I will just kill this Ashwatthama. And that's the vow he takes, and then he moves. Okay, text 16. O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that degraded Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bed standing on his head. This is Kshatriya spirit. So here in this particular section we can see there is the whole discussion of what is proper dharma and also what is dharma sankata. We can see the entire Mahabharata and also many times in various situations we can see there is a dilemma whether to turn left or turn right or go straight, what to do, how to act, what is proper thing to be done. Specifically in those days people were very dharmic. They had faith in the scriptural statements, they had faith in Guru, they had faith in the elders, they had faith in the rishis, they had faith in the whole process of the Vedic culture. So, before they do something, what is their primary concern is whether it is dharmic or adharmic. This is an important lesson we need to learn in our life, that before we act, the act is going to be a pious act or it's going to be an impious act. Guru Maharaj once he said that in one of the classes he was explaining that there are people speaking about rare species. What are the rare species you can think of? Rare species, you understand? Some species will become extinct.
Yali.
Huh? So he's saying Yali. Yeah, we don't have dinosaurs. Okay. Anything else? Sometimes they say some particular variety of some particular variety of dolphins are becoming rare species. Certain things are so many different discussions we can have on what are all the rare species. But there is one very that is right in front of our eyes. We can see there is one particular set of people are becoming rare species. The pious people. Piety has become very rare thing. Hardly we can see anybody who is pious these days, because the modern culture, the politics, the sports, the industrial growth, technology has created people of advanced culture. Advanced culture means you are an atheist, you are a free thinker. You will think whatever you want to think. That's the situation. But on the other hand, we can see those who are part of the Vedic culture, they were really very dharmic. And what is real intelligence? Real intelligence means to study the scriptures, hear from bona fide devotees of the Lord, and contemplate it in your life, and be ready to apply those instructions in your life. Not that we just engage our senses like cats and dogs, or just lead life like some animals. No, that's why we have got this human intelligence. Human intelligence needs to be molded, isn't it? So that's something. It's quite very important in all circumstances, in all situations. This is another amazing aspect. Prabhupada says here, such an aggressor, though he be a Brahmana or a so-called son of a Brahmana, has to be punished in all circumstances. All circumstances in this situation means that okay, here is an exception. Not like that. If somebody has transgressed the law of dharma, he has to be punished. Similarly, in any situation, one has to follow the dharma. So this is something which we can inculcate to whomsoever we meet, to children, to among the entire society. We can inculcate this particular trait of try to follow the principles of dharma. Principles of dharma means what? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Whatever the Lord has said, that is the law. So that's the proper thing to be followed. So and that we should be conscious of that. Yeah. So we can see that even there are still some people, when some tragedy happened in their life, they consider it to be this is what maybe Lord's plan is. So Maharaj was sharing one amazing incident in the sense, not a very pleasant incident. The devotees they were traveling by bus or by car, and it so happened some cow came in between and something else came in between, and they had to really, while trying to escape from the situation, they crossed over a child actually, and child left the body on the spot. And the parents of the child, they said that this is the plan of Giridhari. I mean, there was somewhere near Govardhan, and they just digested it. Otherwise, you know what happens. It's a big. But what's the point they are trying to convey here is that culture was so much there that people were accepting things as plan of the Lord, and that strong culture was there in India. Nowadays that's gone. But the point is, this sticking to the principles of dharma. So this dharma sankata. See, what is the situation here? You think of the situation here. Ashwatthama, suddenly he lost all the traits of being a Brahmana after having done such an abominable act. Now Arjuna is furious after having lost his sons and also seeing Draupadi in such a great distress. So he wanted to kill, and again so many things have to be considered. Ashwatthama is son of Dronacharya. They are very dear guru who really taught them the art of archery and really gave all the signs of archery, and Dronacharya liked the Pandavas very much. Pandavas also in turn liked them very much. They were very affectionate, and now the situation is that he has to kill the son of Drona, which is something he is thinking about. Shall I do it or not? So it's a quandary. What to do? What the situation is really worse. So let's see what happens. Prabhupada says, the so-called Brahmana acted like a butcher. He was taken as such, and there was no question of sin in killing such a Brahmana's son, who proved to be a villain. Yes, going by the Shastric statement, there was no problem in killing Ashwatthama because he really transgressed the law. It was completely, no more he cannot be, he may be born to a Brahmana, But the act was highly sinful, and Shastras are also supporting that. Okay, text 17. So Arjuna went furious, he just went ahead to catch him. Text 18. Ashwatthama, the murderer of the princess, being from a great distance, Arjuna coming at him with great speed, fled in his chariot, panic-stricken, just to save his life, as Brahma fled in fear from Shiva. So there is a small story that is narrated here, how Brahmaji fled in fear of his life. I'm not getting into it. You can read that later. I'm just moving to text 19. Yada sharanam atmanam aikshata shrantavajinam astrang brahma shiromene atmatranam vijatmajah. Ashwatthama invokes Brahmastra for defense. So now, seeing the situation that he is in great trouble, Ashwatthama is invoking the Brahmastra. When the son of Brahmana saw that his horses were tired, he considered that there was no alternative for protection outside of his using the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, nuclear weapon. Okay. Prabhupada says in the purport, the most intelligent man is called a Brahmana, and it is not a hereditary title. Ashwatthama was also formerly called a Brahma Bandhu, or a friend of a Brahmana. Being a friend of a Brahmana does not mean that one is a Brahmana by qualification. A friend or a son of a Brahmana can be called a Brahmana when fully qualified and not otherwise. Since Ashwatthama's decision is immature, he is purposely called here in the son of a Brahmana. See, this is why certain traits are taught to qualified people. Why not to anyone? Any Tom, Dick and Harry train him on anything. Why not like that? They will misuse, exactly. Yeah. They will misuse it. And as a result, the society will be in great trouble. That's what will happen. So we see here, exactly just Ashwatthama, for his own heinous act, just to save himself, what did he do? He was ready to release the Brahmastra. So which is not all an act of Brahmana. Brahmana is not supposed to do anything like this. And we see here that's what is happening. Okay, let's continue. Since his life was in danger, he touched water in sanctity and concentrated upon the chanting of the hymns for throwing nuclear weapons, although he did not know how to withdraw such weapons. So there was another deficiency in him. He knew how to release it, he never knew how to retract it. Arjuna prays to Lord Krishna for protection. Thereupon a glaring light spread in all directions. It was so fierce that Arjuna thought his own life in danger, and so he began to address Lord Sri Krishna. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara Tvameko Dahyamananam Apavargosi Samsrutehe. O my Lord Sri Krishna, you are the almighty personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find the path of liberation in you only. Therefore, Arjuna's version of Lord Krishna is authoritative. Krishna is almighty and is especially the cause of fearlessness for the devotees. Bhaktanam Abhayankara. A devotee of the Lord is always fearless because of the protection given by the Lord. Material existence is something like a blazing fire in the forest, which can be extinguished by the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna. If you remember in the Krishna book, when the Gopas saw the Aghasura, the mouth wide open, they were so bold. Anyway, let's walk in. Let's walk in. Krishna is there. They were so bold. They were just having so much faith on Krishna. Krishna is there to protect them. So they know Krishna is Abhayankara. Krishna is always there to protect. Well, at the same time, we being the sadhakas in the beginning stage, we should not drive car with one hand. I was saying one devotee, he is chanting Hare Krishna, left hand is driving car and right hand is chanting Hare Krishna, I asked him, hey, what is this? Paramatma will guide. And he will turn off the side mirrors. And I think that was the last time I went with him in the car. We went for one college program. After that, we never went. We should not misuse the Krishna conscious philosophy. Bhaktanam Abhayankara, not like this. Okay. Material existence is something like a blazing fire in the forest, which can be extinguished by the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna. The spiritual master is the mercy representative of the Lord. Therefore, a person burning in the flames of material existence may receive the rains of mercy of the Lord through the transparent medium of the self-realized spiritual master. The spiritual master by his words can penetrate into the heart of the suffering person and inject knowledge transcendental, which alone can extinguish the fire of material existence. So Prabhupada very nicely puts it, how does the protection of the Lord one gets. One gets the protection of the Lord through his bona fide devotees, by taking shelter of them. Okay. Now this is again, as one of you pointed out, we learn also that before requesting something from the Lord, you will see consistently this happening in the Bhagavatam. Before requesting something from the Lord, that we first of all glorify the Lord, we acknowledge who he is, what are his potencies, how great he is. And we can see Arjuna is doing that. Now Arjuna is now glorifying his qualities. Tvamadhya purushas sakshad ishvara prakrite parah mayam vyudasya chichaktya kaivalya stita atmani. You are the original personality of Godhead who expand yourself all over the creations and are transcendental to material energy. You have cast away the effects of the material energy by dint of your spiritual potency. You are always situated in eternal bliss and transcendental knowledge. The Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita that one who surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord can get release from the clutches of nescience. The best means to get out of the world of ignorance is suggested here. Okay, then Prabhupada points out that how Krishna is absolute. Krishna is absolute and all his energies are very wonderfully performing all the activities. Okay, let's read that particular section. He is Parama, or the chief. Therefore, he is the Therefore, he is absolute. He has manifold energies, and through his diverse energies, he creates, manifests, maintains and destroys the material world. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bhala Kriyacha. In his own abode, however, everything is eternal and absolute. The world is conducted not by the energies of the powerful agents, not by the energies or powerful agents by themselves, but by the potent, all-powerful with all energies. So just to say, all the energies are interacting is true, but all the energies are coming from a potent person. That's what Prabhupada always used to argue when they say nature is doing everything. How the nature is doing everything? From where the nature is getting the directions, from how the nature is getting the intelligence. There is a person behind the nature, right? So that we should not forget. And again, Arjuna is glorifying. And yet, though you are beyond the purview of the material energy, you execute the four principles of liberation characterized by religion and so on for the ultimate good of the conditioned souls. So the Lord, even though the conditioned souls, they just left the Lord, but still our Lord being very merciful, he takes care of the maintenance. He takes care of, what does the Shvetashvatara Upanishad says regarding the maintenance? Nityo nityanam chetanash chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. So the Lord, actually, he is a maintainer of all the living entities. That's his speciality. That's his mercy, actually. He descends out of his costless mercy only to reclaim the fallen souls who are captivated by the illusory energy. The Lord descends to eradicate this false sense of enjoyment and thus reclaim conditioned souls back to Godhead. That is the all-merciful nature of the Lord for the fallen souls. Okay. Thus you descend as an incarnation to remove the burden of the world. Many times we see this in the Bhagavatam. Tatayam chavataraste bhuvo bhara jihirshaya swanam chananya bhavanam anudhyanaya chasakrit. Chasakrit, yes. Thus you descend as an incarnation to remove the burden of the world and to benefit your friends, especially those who are your exclusive devotees and are constantly wrapped in meditation upon you. So this is a secret. What is it that he is more concerned with? He is more concerned with his exclusive devotees. And also those who are very constantly absorbed in his activities. Who are those? Those devotees are only who are absorbed in rapt attention. They are absorbed in Krishna's activities. Okay. Let's move to the next verse. Kimadam svitkuto veti deva deva navedmyaham sarvato mukam ayati teja paramadharunam. O Lord of Lords, how is it that this dangerous effulgence is spreading all around? So we saw 3 verses where Arjuna so far glorified, and And we see now he's putting forth this request. Where does it come from? I do not understand it. O Lord of Lords, how is it that this dangerous effulgence is spreading all around? Where does it come from? I do not understand it. Anything that is presented before the personality of Godhead should be so done after due presentation of respectful prayers. That is the standard procedure. And Sri Arjuna, although an intimate friend of the Lord, is observing this method for general information. So, before we do study Prabhupada's books, what should we do? We should offer our praise to our Guru. At least we should minimal do that. Offer our praise to Guru. Can offer some glorification of some verses. That's how we start. We respect. This is what? Invocation. Mangala Charan, we can say also. It's auspicious invocation. By this auspicious invocation, we are showing our readiness to the Lord. We are showing that, my dear Lord, I want to surrender to your lotus feet. I want to submit myself. Please, I am so dull. I don't have neither I have intelligence nor I have strength. You please enlighten me with transcendental knowledge, so that I will become more enthusiastic to serve you, to hear your holy names, to give you about your glories to others. So that should be the principle. And that's just only if you are doing that reading? No, for anything. Even you can see traditionally in the Gaudiya culture, even before starting the Kirtan, they used to worship the Mridanga and Kartals. They used to have flowers actually. You can see sometimes they put one flower. So that's the tradition. So for doing Kirtan, before starting book distribution, before cooking, before going for cooking, the cook first of all offers obeisances in the kitchen, and then he starts cooking. Puja, there is no need to say. Everything starts with you all are now doing puja. You all know, even before you start anything, you purify yourself with achaman, and then so many purificatory things you do. Bhuta Shuddhi, so many Shuddhis are there, right? So all those things you perform, you purify the elements, you purify your body, it's all purified. Before approaching the Lord, we express our readiness. So that's what here we see. So that will help put us in right track. And then where is the question of lying down and reading and keeping our legs stretched and then reading, and then so these things we need to be very, very. If you want transcendental knowledge to descend, if you want knowledge to really for us something to understand, these etiquettes should be followed. That's important. Okay. Now the next 7 verses we will see, Krishna is going to give a direction to Arjuna. Krishna is giving direction to Arjuna how he has to handle this Brahmastra and how to capture this Ashwatthama. Okay, verses 27 to 34. On the advice of Lord Krishna, Arjuna counteracts the Brahmastra and captures Ashwatthama. Text 27. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Know from me that this is the act of the son of Drona. He has thrown the hymns of nuclear energy, Brahmastra, and he does not know how to retract the glare. He has helplessly done this, being afraid of imminent death." Prabhupada's purport. The atomic energy works wholly on total combustibility, and so the Brahmastra also acts. It creates an intolerable heat, similar to atomic radiation, but the difference is that the atomic bomb is a gross type of nuclear weapon, whereas the Brahmastra is a subtle type of weapon produced by the chanting hymns. It is a different science, and in the days gone by such science was cultivated in the land of Bharatavarsha. The subtle science of chanting hymns is also material, but it has yet to be known by the modern material scientists. Subtle material science is not spiritual, but it has a direct relationship with the spiritual method, which is still subtler. A chanter of hymns knew how to apply the weapon as well as how to retract it. That was perfect knowledge. But the son of Dronacharya, who made use of the subtle science, did not know how to retract. Okay. Now, Srila Prabhupada here in this purport is addressing the point of how by using the mantras in those days they were able to send the weapon and control it, and in fact they attack on a particular target. This is something amazing. Now I'm sure some of you might have heard of something called Scud missile. You might have heard of this Scud missile. Scud missile is one It's one kind of a missile wherein you can, this is actually what I'm speaking is a very old technology. Maybe there are so many latest things that have come. What I'm speaking is probably maybe 15 years back. Scud missile, what they do is they will set the target from, let's say from here you want to now hit at Guhai, okay? Because you're going for the Veena class, so I thought you all will know that place. So from here you want to target some place. Now, that entire Guhai will be destroyed. They will just set the timing and everything, and then they will just press a button, and then actually it's some kind of a heavy bomb. It just goes and then attacks a particular place. All the target is set and everything, it goes and then blasts the whole entire region. Of course, if somebody can put the bomb from the top also, but when someone just does it from one corner and then they set the target, and then now whereas we can just see here, in those days they were so expert that when they will just decide who is the target, who they want to attack, and exactly he will be the only person who will be targeted. Not like the modern days. What's happening is, there are so many, so much of fight is happening in, whenever there's a bombing that happens in Syria or Iraq and all those places, you can see so many civilians, means the public, general people, elder ladies, children, old men, youngsters, innocent people who have no connection with the war. All these people will die on the spot because of one heavy bomb. This is the tragedy of the modern, modern bombing and modern army, and it's very brutal. Innocent people, they die. And that's the whole situation. And Prabhupada says that the subtle science of chanting hymns is also material, but it has yet to be known by the modern material scientists. And they hear these kind of things, what do they say? When they hear this kind of things, they immediately put it in a box. Oh, this is mythology, these are all fantasy stories for the children. But they have no clue, because they think that seeing is whatever that we see only we will believe, but you don't have the qualification to see it. This is the major problem. Your methodology is completely is wrong. Your approach is completely wrong. You cannot understand this science, because to understand this science you need to be further purified. Prabhupada, that's why he says the subtle science of chanting hymns is also material. Yeah, it is material, but the scientists cannot understand this. They have no clue. And also from this also we understand another thing, that whatever that is given in the scriptures, it's not that everything is one. There are different gradations of knowledge, different results you acquire by doing various activities that is mentioned in the Vedas. There is flowery part of the Vedas. There is the more spiritual subject matters that are discussed. There is discussions about the soul. There is discussions about karma. So many intricate details are there. Somebody may be just interested in some karma kanda portions of the Vedas. So there are different things you perform and different results will be there, isn't it? So there is a difference that has to be understood. Not that you put everything in one khichdi. Everything is, all paths leads to the same goal. Everything is same destination. Everything is fine. Everything is spiritual. It's all nonsense actually. This idea is completely rejected. That's why Prabhupada here is mentioning this. Subtle science of chanting hymns is material, he's saying. Just because somebody is chanting some hymns doesn't mean that it is spiritual. So that also we have to understand from this particular purport. So that's why I made the mention that all mantras are spiritual, which is not true. So we can understand how the what is material, what is spiritual, how do you differentiate? It's a question for you. In simple terms.
Which is used in our own sense gratification.
Yes, true. Whatever is used in our own sense gratification, that we call it as material. And whatever is used in Krishna's service, that is spiritual. Atendriya priti vancha tare bhalikam krishnendriya priti cha dhare premanam. So that's the principle in which we try to understand. And those subject matters which are dealing with reviving a relationship with the Lord, that is the sambandha aspect of it. That is what brings us up in spiritual life. Okay. Now, text 28. O Arjuna, only another Brahmastra can counteract this weapon. Since you are expert in the military science, subdue these weapons glad with the power of your own weapon. For the atomic bombs, there is no counter weapon to neutralize the effects. But by subtle science, the action of a Brahmastra can be counteracted, and those who were expert in the military science in those days could counteract the Brahmastra. Not anybody can do it. One should really be expert. Okay, text 29. So Arjuna now sends another, he counteracts with his own Brahmastra. When the rays of the two Brahmastras combined, a great circle of fire, like the disk of the sun, covered all outer space and the whole firmament of planets. The radiation of atomic energy is very insignificant in comparison to the heat produced by a Brahmastra. Can you just imagine that the power of the atomic bomb, whatever that we see in this modern world now, that itself devoured, this Hiroshima, Nagasaki. That effect is still there. Those people who were born there. But what is mentioned here, it says that the radiation of atomic energy is very insignificant in comparison to the heat produced by a Brahmastra. So, can imagine? We can't even imagine. We may say imagine about the Brahmastra. We cannot imagine. It's so powerful. So powerful. The atomic bomb explosion can at most blow up one globe. But the heat produced by Brahmastra can destroy the whole cosmic situation. Can you imagine? The comparison is therefore made to the heat at the time of annihilation. Oh, that's the heat it is compared to. Okay. See, we think that's what when we study Bhagavatam, we get to know that such a detailed science of information is there in Bhagavatam. But as we many times hear, people, there's those who are bereft of knowledge, those who do not have any idea of what is this message of Bhagavatam. What do they think? They think that this is some caveman's knowledge. Someone sat in the cave and then wrote something. You can see what is being written in the cave. So detailed informations are given. And Prabhupada immediately points out that all the population of the three worlds was scorched by the combined heat of the weapons. Everyone was reminded of the Samvartaka fire which takes place at the time of annihilation. Prabhupada immediately points out, no planet therefore is without living beings, as less intelligent materialistic men think. This is another foolishness of the modern scientists. They have no clue that there cannot be, they think that there cannot be any life in other planets. Oh, there was one documentary. In that documentary it was mentioned, this was several years back, I don't know which year, maybe 20 years back or something like that. There was some scientists, they have their own Mars expedition and all those things. So they captured some photos. They took some photographs of the Mars and they saw some artificial structures. Some structures, the photos could give them some structures, some organized structures. Something like some buildings, some forts, those things they just saw, and that picture was after some time it was completely hidden. I think the NASA they hid that paper. They don't want to discuss about it. They don't want to speak about it. They completely hid that paper. And when one scientist, he did some research and then he wanted to publish about the paper, then that video or that discussion, everything was covered. There are so many news like this in the scientific community. There are some people who really do research and when they try to find some information, that information is covered. And so you see that the thing is that their discussion, it goes on like this. They say that if any fact we find which will be contradicting the existing scientific facts they have, then they have a problem because they can't give a rational explanation for that. And as a result of it, what will happen? People will will get their own doubts. They will not anymore believe in science. Their fundings will be there. See, for scientists to perform any discovery or anything to invent, so much money is being pumped by the government. So much money is being pumped, and they do so much research. They send on satellite. Millions and millions of dollars are spent in that excavation, and so many factors are involved. So they are very careful. They're very careful means they make sure that anything they see which is beyond their knowledge. So they use this knowledge filter. Their knowledge filter is crazy filter. Anything which is science means science should actually what it should do. It should be very open. It should be anything they should be for the truth. They should be able to find and give scientific evidences, but they cover up the evidences, and we can see it again and again. So, but we see here that it is mentioned that The life is there in all the planets. But they don't accept it. Okay. Thus, seeing the disturbance of the general populace and the imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both Brahmastra weapons as Lord Sri Krishna desired. The theory that the modern atomic bomb explosions can annihilate the world is childish imagination. First of all, the atomic energy is not powerful enough to destroy the world. And secondly, ultimately, it all rests on the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, because without His will or sanction, nothing can be built up or destroyed. It is foolish also to think that natural laws are ultimately powerful. Yeah, this is the difference between the outlook of a devotee and an outlook of a mundane person. Because a devotee, he sees the hand of the Lord behind it. No? Now you see any nation, every nation has got some nuclear weapon. It could create such a tragedy. Things are anytime another big world war can break out. Anything can happen. But things are under control by the supreme will of the Lord. So Prabhupada is pointing out here that actually ultimately the Lord is it's in the control of the Lord. Of course, when people become more and more atheistic, more and more they engage in abominable activities, we will see in one purport Prabhupada is going to address that. Then the whole society is going to become more and more chaos. There can be more disaster that can happen. And we being the practitioners in ISKCON, we have a great responsibility to save the lives of the people. Okay, let's go to the next verse. So now Arjuna became very furious when he just saw Ashwatthama. He became very furious. Arjuna, his eyes blazing in anger like two red balls of copper, dexterously arrested the son of Gautami and bound him with ropes like an animal. Srila Prabhupada points out that here there is one additional information. If you see here, it is mentioned Dharunam Gautami Sutam. Who is this Gautami Sutam? Son of Gautami. Here Vishwachakra Thakur points out Ashwatthama was the son of Kripi, who came from the Gautama Gotra. So Kripi came in the Gautama Gotra. So here it is addressed Gautami Sutam. Kripacharya's wife?
No.
Oh, Kripacharya's sister. Sorry, sister. Yes. Okay. Where are we? Let's move to the next verse. After binding Ashwatthama, Arjuna wanted to take him to his military camp. The personality of Goddess Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eyes, spoke to Arjuna in an angry mood. Both Arjuna and Lord Sri Krishna are described here as being in an angry mood, but Arjuna's eyes were like balls of red copper, whereas the eyes of the Lord were like lotuses. This means that the angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. The Lord is transcendence and thus he is absolute in any stage. His anger is not like the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of qualitative material nature, because he is absolute. Both his anger and pleasure are the same. His anger is not exhibited in the three modes of material nature. It is only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotee, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even if he is angry, the object of anger is blessed. This is nice. Yeah, when the Lord becomes angry, he becomes, nobody can come in front of the Lord when he becomes angry. But that whomsoever comes in front, he may be burnt or he may be he will be very brutally killed, but he gets the blessing of the Lord. But the Lord is unchanged in all circumstances. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. So here is the two contracts. One is Ambuja Ikshanaha and then the previous verse. Yeah, Tamra Akshaha. Tamra Akshaha and Ambuja Ikshanaha. Okay, text 35. Lord Sri Krishna said, "O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of a Brahmana, Brahmabandhu, for he has killed the innocent boys in their sleep." Okay. One does not become a High Court judge just by virtue of being the son of a High Court judge, but there is no harm in addressing a High Court judge's son as a relative of the Honorable Justice. Therefore, as one becomes a High Court judge not by birth, only by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a High Court judge, so also one becomes a Brahmana not simply by birthright but by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a Brahmana. As the High Court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, so also the post of a Brahmana is attainable by qualification only. The Shastra enjoins that if good qualifications are seen in a person born in a family other than that of a Brahmana, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmana. And similarly, if a person born in the family of a Brahmana is void of Brahmanical qualification, then he must be treated as a non-Brahmana, or in better terms, a relative of a Brahmana. Is there any instruction of Narada Muni you remember in this regard? Yes, he gives a very clear. Yasyal lakshanam proktam pumso varnabhi vyanjitam yadanyatrapi drishyeta tattenaiva vinirdishet. Yes, so the saying yasyal lakshanam proktam. So you see the lakshana, based on the lakshanas you decide what varna he belongs to. Even some anyatrapi, even he may be apparently born in some other background, but if he shows the symptoms of a particular varna, if he shows the symptoms of Brahmana, then he has to be accepted as a Brahmana. And when we see the commentaries of all great acharyas, they all very much support this statement, and they give so many evidences for this. So that has to be understood properly. Next verse. Mattam pramattam unmattam suptam bhalam striyam jhadam prapannam viratam bhitam naripum hanti dharmavit. A person who knows the principle of religion does not kill an enemy, who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot, nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. Formerly, battles were fought on the principles of religion and not for the sake of sense gratification. If the enemy happened to be intoxicated, asleep, etc., as above mentioned, he was never to be killed. These are some of the codes of religious war. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of selfish political leaders. It was carried out on religious principles free from all vices. Violence carried out on religious principles is far superior to so-called non-violence. See, this is why many people, they were quite upset with Gandhi. Although there was sometimes a violence was required when India-Pakistan split was happening. Some certain things could have been avoided when there was by handling violence and putting things in proper situation. I'm just giving this one example. So many examples are there where the violence has to be performed. A violent act has to be performed for the protection of dharma. When in the name of so-called dharma, if you avoid it, then that becomes adharma. That we hear from Gita. It's the whole discussion. So when we speak of different dharma sankata situation, the gambling that happened, the main question of whether to fight or not to fight. This was the whole dharma sankata for Arjuna, isn't it? Krishna had to speak the Bhagavad Gita and he has to convince Arjuna, come on, you fight. On my behalf, you fight. Krishna convinced. Okay. Oh, this is one. So this is one news. A long time back we just read that, there is a particular term that they use in the US called collateral damage. Collateral damage means, see, this is the thing. There were some terrorists who were really making a big mess of a village, and to catch them or to kill them, they were finding it difficult to handle them. So they had to send some heavy bomb, and as a result, there were about 300 people who died. But of course and then when they went and then saw among the 300 people who died, they also found these terrorists also died. You understand what is the whole point? So what is the point? So to catch these 10 terrorists, you kill 300 innocent people. But that's the whole point, because the whole modern technology is like this. Your bombings, your stuff, everything. But those days it was different. They had the power of mantras, and they were able to attack exactly the enemy. And all those things were there. Okay. Text 37. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. A life for life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. Political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. So recently we also heard in the Brahma Samhita class that the point is that, you see, when somebody does a crime, he does some abominable act, the best mode of treatment for that act is to kill him or give a very heavy punishment. For example, Prabhupada used to quote in his lectures, when even it's not too late, even some 30, 40, how many years back? 200 years back in Kashmir, what was the system that was happening? The king was there, very powerful Kshatriya king, and when he saw a criminal act, some theft or any other bad act, what they will do is, I think for the theft, they will cut the hands of the robber. And from that time, everyone is so scared to perform such a heinous act. And also, by that, this actually you are favoring the person. Manu says that it's a favor that is done to a person because his karma is going to continue, he is going to suffer. If not this lifetime, again after some years he is going to suffer going to suffer a heavy reaction for that, or after in the next lifetime. Why to postpone the reaction that he is going to get? Do it immediately. And then it also sets a great example in the community that everybody will be afraid to perform a bad action. Okay, this there was one incident that happened in the US. There were brothers. They were almost 20 years old, 20 years of age, and they became, for whatever reason, they became very envious of their parents, or they were upset with their parents, and the parents were watching the television, and they came from behind and then they shot them. It's when you just hear this, our head spins. But these are some normal things that happens in the US. There are so many, time to time there is school shooting, many things happens there. And okay, what is it that I wanted to share? Then what happened? These two boys, they went and filed a case. They paid the prosecutors. They were asking them to defend, because they said that our situation was like that. We have to defend we were oppressed. We were struggling. We were dominated by our parents. We didn't know how to protect ourselves, so we had to kill them. So this was the presentation that was made in the court. Okay, so the judge was he was not able to take a decision because there was a presentation that was done. So he was wondering what to do, what is the outcome, whether we have to give a judgment against them or for what to do. And there was one statement that we are unable to give a judgment. One day they announced we are unable to give a judgment when they kind of postponed. And so this is a situation. The modern judiciary system, we can see. So if you go to any court, you can see thousands and thousands of cases are pending. You can see big files. Of course, now everything is becoming digitalized. So many cases are pending. Please come after 2 weeks. Please come after 3 months. Please come after 6 months. There could be several reasons, but that's the whole modern system now. They are not able to take a quick, clear decision. And there are so many various factors that is involved. Very complicated system. They don't follow the exact system that Manu has given. Is the problem. So that is the problem. Prabhupada here points out that political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. Such a death sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him, and it is said in the Smriti Shastras that men who are punished by the king on the principle of a life for a life are purified of all their sins. You see, nobody has any understanding of purification because they don't accept that there is rebirth. They don't accept anything called karma. So there is a big mess, so much so that they may be eligible for being promoted to the planets of heaven. Where is the question of speaking about planets of heaven? They think that life is only one, we are born, and then just lead life like whatever way you want to lead life, you just lead life, and then at one fine day you will die. So the philosophy is beg, borrow, steal, eat in ghee. What is that? Ranam kritva gitam pibed, yavat jivet sukam jivet, basmi bhutasya dehasya, kutaf punar agamano bhavet. This is their philosophy. By hook or crook, steal, beg, borrow, and then drink. This is not Charok didn't say that. Drink, cheat, and then you eat all kinds of nonsense. There was in that little Vedic verse, you eat only in ghee by beg, borrow, stealing. But here now you just do any nonsense you do. What is this? Rebirth and God and spirituality. Have you ever seen anybody? This is how the whole philosophy goes on. Nobody is interested in these kind of things. Okay. Killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer. This is again, who is now this? In fact, we know thou shalt not kill. They say that thou shalt not murder. Murder is only for humans. Thou shalt not kill is, if you say kill, then you can bring in all kinds of species. But murder is a word used for human, all kinds of speculation. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer, because animal food is never meant for a civilized man whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. You see, that's an amazing point Prabhupada points out here. And then he gives, just don't say that, don't try to escape by being in one of these categories. Which categories? He who gives permission. I only permitted. I didn't do this act. He who gives permission. He who kills the animal. I didn't kill it. Someone else killed the animal. He who sells the slaughtered animal. He who cooks the animal. He who administers distribution of the foodstuff. And at last, he who eats such cooked animal food, he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers. And all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science. And therefore, no one has the right to kill a living being by one's independent whims. You cannot create even a grass in the laboratory, yes, an ant in the laboratory. You cannot even create an egg. Chicken is a better scientist. You can create an egg. The mockery is being done. So that is the situation. And what right you have to kill someone? Okay. Prabhupada further says, eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions to society, country, and the people in general. The material world is itself a place always full of anxieties. And by the encouragement of animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. So it is a mess. The material world is a messy place. That's the situation we are in. And what is the problem? Why also, you see, people are very indecisive. They are not able to take proper decisions. They are not able to really be thoughtful. What could be the reason for this? What could be the reason? Why people are very indecisive? Even the so-called thoughtful men are also not thoughtful. What is the reason? Yes. People are more and more engrossed in sense gratification. Pravritimcha nivritimcha janana vidurasuraha. People do not know what is to be done, what is not to be done, which is good, which is not good, no idea. So that's the problem. So that's why everything is, there is a mess. From top to bottom there is a mess. Okay. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately. Krishna is now provoking Arjuna. Oh, come on, you have to kill him. What a nonsense person he is. He is absolutely very demoniac. Kill him. So Krishna is pushing. Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, committed murder by killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, by which he dissatisfied his master Duryodhana, who never approved of the heinous act of killing the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. This means that he was liable to be punished by him. So Prabhupada points out that even Duryodhana did not approve. There is no support he has got. So it is certainly a heinous act. Although Krishna was examining Arjuna in religion and encouraged him to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him. Although Ashwatthama was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. Lord Sri Krishna encouraged Arjuna outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Sri Krishna unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty. But Lord Sri Krishna puts many of his pure devotees to the test just to magnify their sense of duty. The gopis were put to such tests as well. Prahlad Maharaj also was put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in the respective tests by the Lord. This is a very nice purport by Prabhupada. Yeah, we can see here Arjuna was really tested. All great devotees, pure devotees, they are all tested time and again. And only they can bear such tests, certain tests, Think of Bali Maharaj. What a test. Lord gave us Vamana, took away he just asked for 3 paces of land, and 3rd pace he took away everything, and he didn't know. Bali surrendered himself. And the tragedy is not over. Well, from external point of view, it appears like tragedy. But on the other hand, this complete mercy of the Lord to his pure devotee. Can you imagine the situation of Bali? It's not over. After all this humiliation, what did the Lord do? The Lord, he could have left him, no? What did he do? He bind him, Can you imagine? Who will be able to bear this? Bali was so happy. So that's why, the Lord has, we perform little small austerities, little tests. You see here, Arjuna never, he never became furious. He didn't shout at Krishna. Krishna, all along you are with us. How did you allow this? 5 sons are just right in front of your nose, they are killed. He never said. He never complained. He never went and begged, you please do something about it. Never. This is quality. This is what. And we know Arjuna, he was such a personality. He had complete control over his senses. We can see this Mahabharata, how Arjuna responded, during the exile. How did he act when he went to when he was in the Indraloka, when Urvashi was approaching. Who can resist the beauty of Urvashi? He said, "My dear mother, this is how he addressed. He addressed her as mother." She became furious. Well, in Indraloka, the whole principles are different. It is it is the service of the society girls to serve all the residents. But Arjuna was so peaceful. How he was able to be so controlled? His senses, because he was a devotee of the Lord. He was able to control his senses. And they know when to act, when not to act. What was the another, who was that? Ulupi. When she approached, he accepted, because the principle of Kshatriya's principle is to accept. Accept when some daughter of a king approaches, he accepts. So similarly, what happened in another situation, that so what happened in the next situation, that you remember when Indra had difficulties dealing with this Niveta Kavachas. Arjuna, one time he went with Matali fighting against the Niveta Kavachas. Not easy, so difficult to. You are actually very, very capable of fighting against the Niveta Kavachas. One should have great control of senses, great control of mind, and he did it. And after, it's a whole story, we're not getting into that. But I'm just giving examples to show that Arjuna had so much control of senses, so much control of mind. And all these things he attributed to the Supreme Lord, because he was the servant of the Supreme Lord. That was his glory. And here Prabhupada is mentioning about Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada is mentioning about the gopis, they all were tested. Srila Prabhupada himself was tested. Who can travel in this Jaladuta? Who can, in this old age take such a great risk of traveling? That's a test. Prabhupada depended completely on Krishna. Prabhupada depended on his spiritual master. Great test Prabhupada underwent. Just 3 days back I was reading few letters. In 66, Prabhupada is writing letters to some of his god brothers. He's writing letters to one brahmachari who was, what was his name? Some Mangal. I'm not able to remember exact full name. Some Mangal, I remember his name, brahmachari. Please, he knows to play mridanga. Prabhupada needed help. He was struggling there in the US. He needed help. He was asking, please, you can come, help me, assist me in playing mridanga. So much scope is there. Now people are gradually the preaching is expanding, and he never got any support. He used to ask for mridanga, he was asking for kartals, he was asking for DTs, he was asking for some books. So he will send money. So now these days we have email, we have WhatsApp. Now you imagine, now I just, I'm not making fun of anyone, I'm just saying, now our ticket is booked. We have to travel in the flight, okay? Our ticket is booked, but it's all confusion, whether the flight is going to go or not. And instantaneously we want to know what is happening, isn't it? Chaitanya Jivan, you can relate to it. So much confusion, tension, full tension, whether the flight will be, and then you are looking for message one after the other. Prabhupada, you can see in the letter he is writing, I am anxious, Prabhupada is saying, please reply as early as possible, because one letter is sent, it takes about 15 days or 20 days those days for reply to come. And also, one has to reply, isn't it? Unless someone replies, the reply is not going to come in 15 days. Prabhupada is doing some preaching work there. He's depending on many things to come from here. No help. Completely. He says, my only help is, my Guru Maharaj's support is there for me. He's writing in one letter. Such a test, he didn't. And sometimes you remember, Prabhupada used to come and see in the Boston harbor, when is the next ship that goes. Test, it's not that Prabhupada, yes, he is a Paramahamsa, Parivrajaka, but he underwent so much test. He just stood. He stood to his words of his spiritual master. And we can see here Arjuna, Prabhupada is pointing out, that's what he's pointing out here. And we can say Arjuna was so valorous, he was completely depending on Prabhupada. Oh, and then Prabhupada writes in one letter, says that, it would be very disappointing for me again to come back and sit in Vrindavan and be alone there, he's saying. Actually, he's alone there in the US, but he is always feeling that he's with his Guru because he's the mission of his Guru. So this is amazing, great. Okay. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, and who was lamenting for her murdered sons. Okay, this is interesting. Draupadi gives various reasons for releasing Ashwatthama. Okay, let's go through one by one. Draupadi then saw Ashwatthama was bound with ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder due to her female nature and due to her being naturally good and well behaved. She showed him due respects as a Brahmana. Prabhupada mentions the point here that, but when he was brought before Srimati Draupadi, she, although bereaved due to the murder of her sons, and although the murderer was present before her, could not withdraw the due respect generally offered to a Brahmana or to the son of a Brahmana. This is due to her mild nature as a woman. Women as a class are like boys, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. So the point is that we have to see everything from Guru Sadhu Shastra. Otherwise we should not be carried away by emotions. Our emotions should be supported by what?
Shastra.
Guru Sadhu Shastra. We should not, that's why many times in this also we say, don't be sentimental, we say. Why we say sentimental, do you know? Don't be sentimental, Gokul. What does it mean? Sometimes, we can see, we cry. We cry so much. Let's say, our mother came to visit us, mother is going back home, and you can see many times Gurukul boys, small boys, they cry like anything, and then they're completely upset. So, but it may be, it's a little emotional at the time, but it is for the good. The boy studies, he's in the school, he's studying, it's very good. So, sentiments from the mental platform is not good. Sentiments from the platform of the soul, that is good. So we say don't be sentimental. We should be transcendental. The emotions are the transcendental platform. That's very good. Okay. So the point is that we should be able to discriminate. The discrimination power should be, intelligence should be based on Guru Sadhu Shastra. Okay, that's the point. Okay, let's proceed. She could not tolerate Ashwatthama's being bound by ropes and being a devoted lady. She said, release him, for he is a Brahmana, our spiritual master. So here is one reason. He says he is a Brahmana, our spiritual master. That means what? He is also a spiritual master's son. How can we do that? And again, Prabhupada is in the purport is pointing out, you may be son of Brahmana, but what the act he has done is very abominable. And why the respect was given to Ashwatthama? Because Ashwatthama respect was given because of his father. Because of Drona, such a great respect was given. And this also, as someone pointed out at the beginning, that Draupadi showed exceptional tolerance. she could not tolerate the son's skill, but at the same time, she was very principle oriented, having that great, great gratitude she had for Dronacharya, having their husbands being trained by them. So she was very loyal. It was by Dronacharya's, okay, gain another reason. Please make a note of this. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. So that's the whole point. And how Arjuna was very powerful in his military art. It's all because of Drona. Prabhupada also points out, you can read those purport. Prabhupada points out that how a Brahmana should be always, this is a good lesson, we should never learn something and then keep it with ourselves. Should always be ready to share it with others. Specifically, a Brahmana means we should always be ready to teach. We also learned from Bhagavad Gita how Drona was ready to teach to whom? He was ready to teach to Drishtadyumna, and that shows the quality of a Brahmana. He knows he's going to kill him. It doesn't matter, he was ready to teach. A bona fide Brahmana is authorized to accept such professions. Okay. Now is again another reason she is saying. Dronacharya is still there. How? As his son is still existing. And Kripi is without, if we kill him, then she will be without a son. So that is another reason she is giving. And then she says, "Oh, most fortunate one who knows the principle of religion, it is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipable." See, this is another nice point here, it's being mentioned. A cultured man should always be careful in dealing with worshipable family members. This is, you see, so for so many reasons, again, at least 5 or 6 reasons that Draupadi gives why not to kill Ashwatthama. And then this is a good point for us to apply in our lives, that while dealing with any person, we need to be very, very conscious of understanding their feelings. Understanding these feelings means not sentimental, let him not practice Krishna consciousness. Let him, this is important, that is important. But the point that I'm just trying to say here is that we should not be selfish, we should be selfless, we should always think how to help others. Helping others means giving them Krishna consciousness. Maybe some of our instructions of, pushing them to follow 4 regulative principles, gradually helping them to get out of the unwanted habits. All those things we should drive, we should push. But at the same time, we should be ready to sacrifice our time, our energy, our very lives in helping others in Krishna consciousness, and we should cater to the needs of the people like that. So that's why we should be givers, and we should not always think of not be milkers or takers. Milkers, you understand? How much money you will give? I will spend my time. That should not be our motive. Okay. Okay, my lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. So another reason she is giving. So I know what is suffering of a mother. Please let her not cry like me. So please make a note how many reasons, maybe at least 5-6 reasons so far. If the members of the administrative kingly order, being unrestricted in sense control, offend the Brahmana or order and enrage them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole royal family and brings grief upon them all. So then finally she says that after all, they are all belonging to a rich Brahmana family. Let's not take their shapam or their rage. Let's not do that. Now there's a situation that Yudhishthira is very much in favor of what Draupadi is speaking, and Arjuna is also in favor, and now Bhima is completely against. He doesn't want. What is this? All this big philosophy you people are speaking. Just finish him off. that was his point. Enough of all these talks. Now Draupadi is pushing forward like this, and Bhima is pushing on one side, and it's big tension, big commotion. Almost Bhima wants to kill him. So suddenly Krishna in the middle is showing his 4 hands. He's showing his 4, and suddenly he showed, okay, calm down. He just wanted to pacify the situation, and finally Krishna worked out he actually inspired Arjuna from within. Arjuna very smartly used his intelligence, and he saw that, okay, what do you call this? The jewel on his head. There is a specific name in Sanskrit for that. Is it Chudamani? No. It's not Chudamani. What's the word that is given here? I'm not able to recollect. Okay, let's go. Let's look at the verse. Why don't you somebody look into that and tell me? Okay, I'll just proceed. Okay, just for your benefit, I'll just read one particular sentence here. The good quality of her words seen in the previous 6 verses. Her words were faithful to dharma, releasing because the Brahmana is always our guru. Her words were filled with correctness. His father taught you the military arts. Her words were full of mercy. The wife is half the husband. Her words expressed unwillingness to cause pain to others. Do not cause suffering to the family of your guru. Her words express sense of calmness. Her words means Draupadi's words. Sense of calmness, allaying suffering. Do not let her cry like me. Her harsh words express generosity, desiring to benefit the hearer. The angry Brahmanas will destroy the Kshatriyas. So these are some of the good reasons she gave. And Nakula and Sahadeva also supported. Bhima became angry, and Krishna showed his Chaturbhuja. And Prabhupada points out that Krishna is the same original Krishna in spite of showing the Chaturbhuja. Therefore, if Sri Krishna is called Chaturbhuja, there is no contradiction. If need be, he can display hundreds of arms, as he exhibited in his Vishwarupa shown to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display hundreds and thousands of arms can also manifest 4 whenever needed. And Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashwatthama. Lord Sri Krishna, as a very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution, and he was smiling also. Now, okay, please pay attention here. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, Bhima favored killing Ashwatthama and Draupadi favored releasing him. The Lord assumed 4 arms to keep the 2 parties apart. Krishna smiled slightly as if saying, "Oh friend, today I will test the sharpness of your intelligence." He smiled and did not laugh. So, actually from within, Krishna inspired Arjuna on what to do. So hearing the equivocal orders of Lord Krishna, Arjuna cuts the jewel and hair from Ashwatthama's head, and the Pandavas perform final rites for the departed son. So this is what happened. So finally Arjuna went for a compromise and then removed the jewel that was there in Ashwatthama's head. That represented great wealth, strength, all power, everything was gone when that was removed. And later they went and then offered the and this final rites they did, and they offered water and they did the final rites for the departed sons. So that's the chapter ends here like this, and we will see Ashwatthama's crazy attitude, his vengeance. It's not over. After having been so much humiliated, he could have become more humble. Still, he could have surrendered, but we will see in the next chapter what is the post-consequence, and how Krishna again supports the pure devotees. We will see that. Okay, do you have any questions or comments? Yes.
Bro, here in purport, one of the purpose Prabhupada is saying we should not follow the mild nature of woman, thereby accept that which is not genuine.
Yes, so this is the point we discussed. So we should not accept the mild nature of women, because if whatever act we are going to perform, if it is going to be based on sentiments, because of emotions, sentiments, or some affection, then such an act is not a proper act. The act should always be based on Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And here also we can see Draupadi in this situation. She is giving so many different quotes, which is also on line of the Dharma Shastras, and also seeing the practical situation. So that we have to learn. So that's the whole point. Not be carried away by emotion, but be guided by the instructions of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So generally, because of womanly nature, one may succumb to the apparent situation. One may succumb to the apparent situation and try to satisfy you will be more for prayers rather than looking at Shreya. This is the point. Anything else?
Yes.
Yes.
It's technical.
Yes.
Brahmastra is mentioned that it was targeted on a particular person.
Yeah.
But sometimes we hear in Shastras that it is said that by this Brahmastra, whole world, all the lokas are burning. So please pacify them. So in what sense that means all the world will also burn?
Yeah.
Different aspects.
Yeah, actually you see, it is explained, okay, the question is like this. So the Brahmastra, we say that it can target one person, at the same time it can devour and burn the entire world. So how do you understand it? Yes, it shows two things are there. One thing is the precision with which by invoking a mantra you can hit at a particular target, and that's one thing. And second thing is in counteracting the Brahmastra, when the Brahmastra is being counteracted, then the effect that it creates also is, it can, as we read here, that it can just swallow the entire universe, and the power is so much. Yes, both the things are there, but when you look into the context that it can still be targeted at one person and he can be completely controlled. For example, if I remember, Hanuman was targeted by whom? Indrajit. He sent the Brahmastra and he was captured. Okay, and then the entire war was going on. So that's one scenario I'm just thinking of. And in this particular scenario, when the counteraction happened, then it created big heat. But again, the Lord is in control, so He nullified the effect. So
because in Shastra, so many times we hear in Mahabharata.
Yes.
So many times they are going to invoke Brahmastra, but somebody will stop them. Then, please don't invoke, otherwise it will burn.
Yeah, so I think that's why we say that Brahmastra is the last one. Before during and everything is nothing could be done. Then at the last minute, it is being done, and also for proper dharmic cause only that is being used. So that's the power of that astra. It's like that. That's what I understand. That is its power. Anything else?
Why Arjuna said that after cutting the head of Ashwatthama, you can stand on it and take a bath. What does it mean?
Oh, I see. The thing is that similar thing. When okay, I'll repeat the question. The question is why Arjuna said that after killing Ashwatthama, you can stand on his head and take bath. That's what I actually explained. That shows the Kshatriya spirit. It's so there because the kind of heinous act that he did, such a cruel act he did. He killed 5 sons of their own sons, and it was so unbearable. And also we can see in Mahabharata there was another incident. What was that? When Draupadi, she didn't tie her hair, and the thing is that Bhima said that I will kill Dushasan, and after killing you can apply that blood, and then after that actually in fact drinking the blood, he says actually that shows such a they were so much humiliated and so much mistreated, and that's kind of a Kshatriya spirit being shown. That's the understanding. Overall they are devotees, but in that particular situation they are exhibiting such a a response for the heinous act they perform. And again, on the other hand, you can see here Draupadi's great quality, how she is so generous, how she is, who can be like this, that she is saying, no, we are indebted to our Guru. So from both angles we can see. Anything else? Okay, if there are no questions, we will end up here, and we will meet again on Thursday. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.